sejahtera kepada semua. Saya Puan Siu, Guru Besar daripada SJKC Kampung Baru Pajam, Mantin. Kali ini saya nak sharekan satu perkongsian berkenaan dengan resensi buku. Tajuk buku yang saya nak share ialah The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Okey, buku ini ditulis oleh Stephen R. Covey dan publisher ialah PTS Publication. Buku ini merupakan satu karya yang penuh impak dan berpengaruh. Buku ini telah menampakkan hati pembaca sejak 25 tahun yang lepas. Buku ini bukan sahaja berjaya mengubah CEO syarikat-syarikat Fortune 500, malah turut memberi kesan kepada individu-individu biasa seperti ibu bapa, guru dan murid. Penulis menulis buku ini bertujuan untuk kemenjadian manusia yang berkesan. Dia telah menolak konsep psikologi yang lama dengan mengetengahkan prinsip keadilan, integriti, kejujuran dan maruah kita, maruah diri sendiri. Jadi 7 habit efektif yang disarankan dalam buku ini ialah nombor 1 ialah bersikap proaktif, be proaktif. Kedua ialah mulakan dengan macam
7 habits. Habit 1 is be proactive. Let's look at something called the circle of concern and the circle of influence. The circle of concern consists of all the things that are out of your control, like the weather, politics, what people think of you, the economy, other people's mistakes, and other people's opinions. The circle of influence consists of all the things you can control, your attitude, what you read, what skills you learn, your enthusiasm, how you spend your free time and who you spend it with, your habits and hobbies, and so on. With that said, there are 2 ways to live life. You can either be reactive or proactive. Reactive people complain about the things that are out of their control. Their environment and outside forces affect their performance and their mood. Additionally, they don't take action or ownership of the things that they can control. And then you have the other type of person. They are proactive. This type of person realizes that their decisions determine their life, not their conditions. Proactive people don't complain about things they can't control. Additionally, they take action to improve the things that they can control. Proactive people understand that sometimes we may not have complete control over a certain situation, but we can control how we respond to a situation. All things are created twice. The first time it's created is in your mind, and the second time is in the real world. So let's look at how it's created in the mind first. To get where you want to go in life, you need to have a map. You need to determine your life goals, your destination, and you also need a plan on how to get there. Otherwise, you're just aimlessly wandering around in life. So where do you want to go in life? Have you sat down and clearly defined the type of life you want? Do you know where you want to be in 5, 10, or 15 years from now? If not, then you're wandering around aimlessly at the whims of everyone else. You write the script to your life, no one else. You are the programmer. Alright, habit 3 is to put first things first. If habit 2 says you're the programmer, then habit 3 is write the program. This is the second creation. As you learned in habit 2, all things are created twice. First in the mind, and then in reality. Habit 3, putting first things first, is where you take the steps and actions required to make your vision a reality. This is where we begin examining our daily routines and habits. Ask yourself, what's the most important thing for you in this moment? It's probably your significant other, finishing school, improving your health, or your family, right? It's not checking Facebook or Instagram. So why do we spend so much time doing these useless things, right? We need to get into the habit of putting first things first. Taking the time to focus on what really matters and focusing our efforts on what's going to get us to where we want to be in life. Really start questioning the scripts and the habits in your life. We've all fallen into the vicious cycle of waking up late, eating poorly, leaving late for work, rushing through traffic in a state of stress, being unorganized at work and being pulled in 1,000 different directions, and then getting home, eating fast food because you're tired, and then falling asleep late because you watched some new TV show. And then you wake up late the next day to do it all over again. This is the perfect example of not putting first things first. We could all use a little help in the time management department, right? And we all have a lot to do. So how do we manage time effectively? Usually we all write things down on a giant to-do list, and we tend to go in order from top to bottom with no real priorities. This is not the way. Or you schedule things on a calendar, which is a decent practice, but with one interruption, our whole game can be thrown off. You could also try daily planning based on priorities, but again, one interruption or emergency can mess it all up. Most of us fall into this time management scheme. But there is another way. The best way is to categorize things by urgency and importance. Steven developed a cool quad chart for this, and you need to categorize items in the following. Quadrant 1 is urgent and important. This is putting out fires, emergencies, and kind of the reality from being independent to being interdependent. Again, interdependence is the highest level of what Stephen Covey calls the maturity continuum. The maturity continuum consists of 3 levels: dependence, independence, and interdependence. Dependence is like the relationship between a child and a mother, or even sometimes between a boss and an employee. It's the attitude of you. To move from dependence to independence, you have to nail the first 3 habits. Again, be proactive, begin with the end in mind, and put first things first. This is the attitude of I. And then you have the next level, which is interdependence. This is where you're thinking like a team, a family and a teamwork mentality. We accomplish what we want together. It's the attitude of we. We can combine our different talents and our abilities to make something even greater. Habits 4 through 6 help you deal with people, teach you how to read the needs, and empathize and cooperate with people. They help you build strong relationships. Habit 4 is think win-win. There's 6 types of personal and business relationships. There's lose-win and win-lose, which is the typical mentality for most. In order for me to win, you have to lose. This is the mindset of someone is going to get the good end of the deal and someone is going to get screwed. This is a poor mindset to have, but people live with this outlook because most people have a scarcity mindset. They have a lack of abundance mindset. There's also the lose-lose relationship, which of course is no good for anybody. And I have a quick example for this one. I had a friend who got divorced and who was about to retire from the military. Instead of retiring and getting a pension, which half of it would go to his wife, he got out at 19 years and got no pension. In this case, they both lost out. Then you have the win, and this is not really a relationship at all. This is you just getting what you want and not providing value to anyone else, and it's pretty much just selfish. Next, there is no deal. This one's pretty much neutral. If you can't come to a deal where you both benefit, then there's no deal. And then we come to the best type of relationship, which is a win-win. We want to look for win-win relationships. We want to search for mutual benefit, and we need to have the mindset that there's plenty out there. There's abundance. We can share knowledge, we can gain, we can profit together. We don't need to crush each other out. We can work together instead. Life isn't a zero-sum game, so look at every situation with a win-win mentality. A quick example of a win-win is, hey, I buy a book for $20 and I get all this insight and knowledge, and the author also benefits by getting $20. So again, seek win-win relationships. If it's not going to be mutually beneficial, then default to no deal. Habit 5 is seek first to understand, then to be understood. Stephen tells a great story here. Stephen and his son have a talk, and Stephen can't get through to his son about some issue they're having. He then goes to a friend for advice. He tells a friend, I just can't understand my son sometimes. He won't listen to me. The friend says, hold on a second. Let me get this straight. You can't understand your son because he won't listen to you. I thought that to understand someone, you have to listen to them. That's a great point, isn't it? For us to understand someone, we have to listen to them, not the other way around. It's common sense really, but most of the time this is how our relationships play out. We often get mad at people because they don't think the way we think. We all see the world differently. We all see the world through our own perceptions and opinions based on our own experiences. You can't understand someone unless you really listen to them. Try to understand their perspective first. Try to understand how they're feeling and why. This is called empathic listening. This is the highest level of listening, the others being ignoring, pretending to listen, selective hearing, and attentive listening. None of those are very effective, but most of us listen using one of these levels. Most people don't listen with the intent to understand. We listen with the intent to reply before the other person even finishes. So before you judge, before you take action, before you contribute. Habit 6 is synergy. The idea behind this is that different people bring different opinions, ideas, perspectives, and strengths to the table. Instead of simply tolerating or accepting these differences, we should celebrate them. We should value these differences. This is what any good CEO does. They get their different subject matter experts and get their input to come up with the best solution. Another way to think of synergy is when you put two pieces of wood together. One piece of wood by itself isn't that strong, but when you put two together, the overall strength increases by more than 2 times. With synergy, 1 plus 1 can equal 3, 10, or 100. Think of how individual units can work together to create something even bigger. Another example is the human body. There are many individual parts that are amazing in their own right, but all the parts together create something amazing. So again, habits 4 through 6 deal with relationships. These 3 habits can help you have effective and interdependent relationships with others. The last habit, habit 7, is to sharpen the saw. Let's say you see a guy cutting down a tree with a dull saw. You say, "Hey, why don't you sharpen that thing? It's going to take 6 hours at this rate." He says, "I don't have time to sharpen it. I have to cut this tree down." You explain, if you spend 1 hour sharpening that saw, it'll only take you 3 hours to cut down the tree. You don't have time not to sharpen the saw. This example can be applied to our lives on many different planes. We are the instruments, and we have to regularly sharpen 4 areas, and these areas fall into quadrant 2 activities. Physical, find the importance of it. Again, it's not urgent, but it's important. You can either exercise and feel good now, or pay for it in 30 years when you're in a hospital with all kinds of physical ailments that you could have avoided. The next area is spiritual. Ask yourself, contemplate, who am I? Where am I going? Meditate, prayer, music, art, and so on. The next one is cognitive health. Continue to learn, to explore, to expand, educate yourself, immerse yourself in another culture, teach others. And the fourth one is social health. This is relationships, living interdependently, spending time with family and friends. With all 4 of these areas, think continuous improvement. We must continually renew ourselves, and the best way to unleash your future potential is by investing. Invest in yourself. Strive for continuous learning and improvement. Doing so renews each of the other habits as well. This habit keeps you fresh so you can handle the other 6 habits. Make these 7 habits a part of your life. Don't just attempt to understand them intellectually, try to live them. Apply these habits and teach them to others, because the best way to learn is by teaching it to someone else. This is a lifelong process that requires patience. It's not a quick fix, it won't happen overnight, and it will be a challenge. As you continue down the path, you'll hit obstacles, and you'll fall back a time or 2, but this is necessary. Old habits will pull you down, but don't give up. Keep pushing yourself, and you'll hit new heights and levels of effectiveness. As you progress, be open to self-discovery and be open-minded. That's it, guys. I hope